Well, you look at this. Another Access Media article attacking the fans. It must be a day that ends in Y. Coming all the way from Inverse, the Acolyte isn't ruining Star Wars. You are, you chud.
Circle the wagons, girls. The multi-billion-dollar corporation is under attack.
And that is exactly what the Access Media is doing. Let's go and jump into this article. No one hates Star Wars more than those who claim to be Star Wars fans. And honestly, this shouldn't come as a surprise, because when you're a fan of something and the corporation or the creative that does something that most people are against or don't like, yes, fans are going to be very angry and are going to criticize what is being done. This isn't something new. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle went through this back in the 1920s when he made the decision to go and kill off Sherlock Holmes. And let me tell you, boy, were people pissed. Because passionate fans will let you know when you're doing something wrong. Sure, the past few years have given the fandom plenty to critique, except when the fan base actually goes and critique and criticizes something, you attack them as istophobes and racist. And the reason why rags like Inverse and the Mary Sue do this is because they know they don't have an argument to go and refute what fans are complaining about. So they rely on ad hominem attacks because that's really all they have. And if you don't like something and you criticize it because it's garbage and has POCs in it and women, well, they just simply call you an istophobe and call it a day. Except the issue is, well, at least for the Access Media, is that these type of attacks no longer work. People simply don't care. Because we all know that these arguments are not being done in good faith. The sequel splintered the fan base beyond recognition, and Lucasfilm's efforts to expand the galaxy on the small screen have been mixed at best. The thing is, if they actually went and focused on giving what fans wanted to begin with, they wouldn't be facing this problem. But the issue is they decide to go and push ideology instead of entertainment. And in some cases, criticism is inevitable. Not everyone will find something to like in the franchise's recent output. No shit, Sherlock. At a certain point, though, the discourse reaches a fever pitch, and even Lucasfilm's most promising projects get swept up in the drama. Okay, which projects are most promising? Because so far what we've been getting has been nothing but a giant freaking dumpster fire. Over the last 12 years, all we've seen has been diminishing value in this property. Seriously, which properties do you consider to be the most promising? Are we talking about Andor or Ahsoka? Because Ahsoka was complete garbage. And granted, the Acolyte is nowhere near as bad as far as quality-wise as Ahsoka is, but it's still not good. With episode 3 of the Acolyte, it's about to do a headfirst dive into an empty swimming pool. The Acolyte is not the first Disney Star Wars project to face the brunt of fan backlash, and it likely won't be the last. Well, there's a very simple way of fixing that. It's called giving the fans what they want. Something that Disney Star Wars and Lucasfilm has absolutely zero intentions of doing. You want to go and own the chuds? It's really easy. Rather than going and shitting on the fans, go and make something that they'll like. Make something that they will actually praise. Rather than going around and trying to use moral blackmail to get people to like something. But the new live-action series is also one of the best additions to the galaxy far, far away in a long time, embracing decades of nostalgia while also thinking critically on the franchise's legacy. And by thinking critically about the franchise's legacy, they mean going and taking a giant steaming dump on it. It also might be the most diverse Star Wars story yet, and while that's definitely a boon for marginalized fans, it made the Acolyte the target of a vocal splinter of the fandom. That's right, the Acolyte is so well received it has garnered a 26% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and those are just the people who bothered to go and leave a rating on the show. And naturally, the Access Media comes out and defends the Acolyte, saying, oh, it's being review bombed. Yes, people who don't like something and bother to go and leave a negative review because they didn't like it, that's typically how it works. Much like the same way, if somebody likes the show, they go and leave a positive comment. But no one's going around saying it's being love bombed, which technically you could say it is because that's what they're accusing us of doing. After all, turnabout is fair play. Whether you know them as the fandom menace, a term that nobody really uses anymore, but okay, whatever, or a cluster of blue checkmark users on Twitter. I find it funny that they are now using that term because we used to refer to journalists as blue check marks. But now that Elon has basically democratized the blue check mark, they're a bit salty about it. I think that's absolutely hilarious. It's impossible to escape their orbit. Good. Because it's the customer that you actually should be listening to. It's the same folks that review bomb diverse swings like Marvel's Eternals. Marvel's Eternals was shit. It was a bad film, and it did very poorly at the box office. You know, Eternals, the one that got a 36% Rotten Tomatoes score from the critics, but for whatever reason, the normie audience seemed to really like the movie. A movie that was so popular, it only made $400 million on a $200 million budget, which means it did not make its money back. And the Lord of the Rings prequel, The Rings of Power, and now their sights are set on the Acolyte. And of course, if they just went and created a show that was entertaining and it wasn't about identity politics, we wouldn't be having this conversation, yet here we are. A good way of summing this up is fans reject garbage, fans to blame. To hear them tell it, the series is the worst thing that has ever happened to Star Wars. The Acolyte isn't the worst thing that happened to Star Wars. In reality, that's Disney. The Acolyte is just more of the same. And its showrunner, Leslie Headland, is just as fiendish as Harvey Weinstein. Oh, I'm sorry. They say Kathleen Kennedy. My bad. But seriously, folks, on a scale of evil, I'm pretty sure Leslie Headland is way worse than Kathleen Kennedy. Solely on the fact that she was Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant. And I'm pretty sure she knew what was going on. But hey, whatever. She's not getting canceled over. No big deal, right? To them, the Acolyte's woke agenda is something to be feared. I wouldn't say it's something to be feared as much as it is going around ruining things, but okay, whatever. It's ruining Star Wars. It's poisoning pop culture itself. All true. No lies detected. And it needs to be stopped by any means necessary. We realize how ridiculous that sounds, right? God, I hope so. That's right, it's all ridiculous. Never mind the fact that Disney has not made their money back yet on Star Wars. You know, a property that should have only increased in value over the years if they actually put in the work and created content that people actually want to watch. But again, hey, whatever. But if not, let's try this. The Acolyte is not actually ruining Star Wars, but the bigoted backlash is definitely ruining the fun for everyone else. So I have two things to say on this. As always, they never provide any receipts to bigoted backlash that they claim. No videos, no tweets, no nothing. And as far as going and ruining their fun, all I have to say to that is good. That's exactly what you fucktards have done to the rest of us. It's not outright shocking to see something like the Acolyte marred by racist, misogynistic, and even anti-alphabet backlash. And again, this is nothing more than just another straw man that is wrapped around ad hominem attacks against the fan base. Because if there was actual receipts, you know damn well they would go and capitalize on it. That Star Wars devotees would share multiple bad faith treatises about the series on YouTube or tank its audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. And again, the whole point of leaving a review on Rotten Tomatoes is to let other people know whether you liked something or not. And clearly, with overwhelming evidence, most people simply don't like the show. That's not review bombing. If that's review bombing, people going and giving it a positive review is love bombing. This is a garbage statement. This is, after all, the same fandom that launched consistent attacks against actors like John Boyega. And again, nobody attacked John Boyega. There was some people that definitely had issues with a black stormtrooper for obvious reasons, because in a lot of ways, the Empire is supposed to be the Nazis. They are fucking space Nazis. But overall, I think people liked Finn quite a bit, and he got done dirty in the movies. Kelly Marie Tran, and again, this is a bold-faced lie. Her grievances were with Hollywood. Nobody attacked her. They just didn't like the character. And Daisy Ridley. Now, Daisy Ridley said something dumb about gun control and got blasted as a result. Other than that, people were not attacking her. These are all bold-faced lies. The problem is nothing has changed in the last 10 years since the vocal minority suddenly cried out against diverse casting. And that is a complete lie. People were not complaining about diverse casting. This is the straw man this whole thing is built upon, and somebody needs to go and torch it. And more nuanced storytelling. You mean going and dredging up the past and destroying it. That's what they're doing. They're destroying the legacy of Star Wars. But yes, that's more nuanced storytelling. They've yet to actually learn their lesson. That applies to Disney. Star Wars continues to get rejected by the fan base. It's the reason why it's so divisive right now. But rather than go and do a course correction and just make good stories that are entertaining rather than preachy, no, they've stayed the course. As a matter of fact, they haven't just doubled down, they've tripled down. And now we have Leslie Headland coming in to go and make literally the Force female. You know, a mystical force like magic that shouldn't have a gender. It shouldn't be male or female. This is just completely stupid. But yes, this is more nuanced storytelling. Whatever. Their arguments are bleeding into even the casual discourse surrounding the Acolyte. All I have to say on that is good. The more people that are calling out this nonsense for what it is, the better. Maybe, just maybe, Disney will get the message. Because clearly, they haven't learned anything in the last 10 years. Comments on set design and screenwriting have turned into misogynistic microaggressions against Headland. Remember, folks, the critics are the only ones allowed to go and review bomb. And I'm kind of curious what microaggressions they're referring to. Is the fact that every single time people keep bringing up that Leslie Headland is the former assistant to Harvey Weinstein, the sexual predator. Is that the microaggressions you're referring to? The actual truth? But seriously, folks, campfires in space. This is what happens when you get rid of mansplaining. Even critiques on the series have been weaponized by its haters. There's no room for nuance when it comes to the Acolyte. You either stand with the series, flaws and all, or you're irrevocably against it. Personally, I don't give two shits whether somebody likes the show or not. That's fine. I'm not going to hold it against them. This whole argument is nonsense, but legit, the show is not good. It's complete garbage. This show is not going to go down in history as being groundbreaking or even memorable for that matter. It's going to be forgotten a week after the final episodes air. The origins of this toxicity aren't difficult to figure out. Yeah, I know, it all lies with Disney. That's the reason why people are blasting it. It's pretty obvious. At the end of the day, it boils down to entitlements. Many male fans feel like they own the franchise. Two things on that. It's pretty apparent that Disney is the one who actually owns Star Wars. And on top of that, Star Wars is a predominantly male's brand. It always has been, and it always will be. Look at it this way. Think if somebody went and made a Barbie movie, but instead of making it about Barbie, they made it about Ken, and a bunch of women got pissed off at that. And rightfully so, because it is a brand that is geared towards women. So there is no surprise that men are the ones that are primarily angry about what is going on with Star Wars, because it is a male's brand. And again, that doesn't mean women can't like it, doesn't mean that they can't love it, but they like it and love it the way it was. And ultimately, their reaction to all this is tone deaf. They keep going and trying to court this mythical modern audience, and it turns out the modern audience is the same as the old audience. That makes it harder for disparate groups to coexist, and even harder for non-white, non-male creatives hoping to tell stories within the franchise. Quite frankly, I don't care if you're male or female, what you look like, as long as you have the ability to go and write a good story, because that's what people care about. That's what we're complaining about. This has nothing to do with race and gender. This is something you are making it about. And remember, folks, they already started pre-attacking the fans before this show even dropped, because they know they have a massive turn on their hands and it's not going to be well received. And this is proof enough right here that it's not being well received. 26% audience score. What began as a relatively niche issue has become Lucasfilm's biggest hurdle moving forward. It's never been a niche issue. It's always been the primary problem with Disney buying Star Wars. They wanted to turn it into a girl's brand, full well knowing that it was a boy's brand. And all they had to do is go and make that fan base happy, and they could be printing money right now. But instead, they're taking massive losses. And you know what? I'm all for that. I want it to be burnt to the ground. I want them to get even more woke, simply so they can go and throw more gasoline on the fire. Disney, I encourage you to do your worst, because at the end of the day, you're not hurting me. You're just hurting yourself. And you're going to lose lots and lots of money, and that is on you. Anyway, folks, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Leave a comment down below. And if you're new to the channel, go and subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it, and check out the next video that's popping up right about now. I'll catch you next time, folks.